afternoon and welcome to another interesting edition of the Diaspora Perspective Show. That's Home and Abroad on Voice of the People Television, VOP. Today is December 28th and it happens to be the last Saturday in the month of December 2024. This show was supposed to be a recap of political events, big events that happened during the year. But as we were just planning to do a recap, other more interesting and trending stories came up. And we decided to, shift it and now do a recap by the first Saturday of January and now make projections into what 2025 will look for the average Nigerian and Africans as well as globally. Now, I am your host, Chukwuma Okoro, and I'm going to take you through this show in the next 2 hours. I will encourage you to click on the like button and subscribe to our page. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV, and on other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. You can also visit our website for other interesting stories. We are at www.vop.ng. You can also be part of this conversation by calling in or sending WhatsApp messages to the number showing on your screen, and the number is 0904-473-2605. I'll take that again so that you can capture it. 0904-473-2605. Now, today we'll be looking at big stories. Nigeria colluding with France to destabilize Niger Republic, and that is coming from General Tijani, the head of state.
For me, people like to count days and all that, but for me, the day breaks.
You must be a very big man to enjoy Christmas every day.
Really?
Gentlemen from abroad, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Show. Good afternoon, KJ. Good afternoon, Flagship.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chukwuma. Thank you for having us and compliments of the season.
Season's greetings once again. It's the season of love, season of joy. KJ, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chukwuma. Thank you so much.
Good to have you on the show. All right, before we move to the main topics of discussion.
Oh, just to let you know, Dr. Damages is with us.
Okay. Dr. Damages.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Merry Christmas.
How much have you damaged this season?
This season? No, nothing, really.
Okay, how much have you damaged within the year? Don't worry, we'll do a recap next week so that you tell us how much you damaged within the year, 2024.
Yes, we can do that. Thank you so much.
All right, then. Now, let's get into other interesting stories before we get into the main topic of discussion. Nigerians had a bleak Yuletide. Nigerian households struggle as low purchasing power diminishes festive spirit. Many Nigerian families marked Christmas in hardship this year due to the steep rise in the prices of goods and services. VOP reporters found that numerous households are now exploring life-changing strategies to cut costs as the economic crisis deepens. Now, families expressed that life had become increasingly difficult due to rising inflation, which has been exacerbated by the removal of petrol subsidy. As a result, the usual Yuletide celebrations were subdued, with many people foregoing traditional travel to their hometowns due to the exorbitant transportation costs. Now, this grim reality has made many Nigerians change their holiday plans as basic necessities and travel costs have become unaffordable for a large portion of the population. Away from that, on a sad note, Nigerian Air Force strike mistakenly kills 10 civilians in erroneous attack somewhere in Sokoto. Airstrikes by Nigerian military forces in Sokoto State's northwest region mistakenly killed 10 civilians and injured 6 others on Christmas Day. The airstrikes were intended to target positions of the Lokarawa terrorist jihadist group in Selame district, a forested area, but instead hit 2 nearby villages, Gidan Bisa and Runtawa, which lie on the outskirts of the forest. Now, the attack, which took place around 7 a.m., resulted in significant destruction, including the loss of homes, livestock, grains, and silos. Abubakar Mohammed, the local administrator of Selame, confirmed the tragic incident, stating that 2 military jets were involved in the strike. He attended the victims' funerals, shared ideas and details of the toll, mentioning that 10 people lost their lives, while 6 others were injured. Now, the Sokoto State Governor, Ahmed Aliyu, expressed his condolences to victims and families and attributed the deaths to an accidental misfire by the Nigerian army. He emphasized the need for accountability. Aliyu also announced that he was in contact with the Nigerian military to call for a thorough investigation into the incident, which he described as an avoidable loss of life. Oh well, the governor also said that this is an act of God, act of nature, and asked the bereaved family to bear the laws with fortitude. Oh well, so much talk about an act of God, something that is an error, human error, more like human error largely. Now let's look at clemency as Governor Adeleke commutes death sentence of foul thief and others to outright pardon. Osun State Governor Ademola Adeleke has granted pardon to Shegu Olowokere, the notorious death for foul convict, and his co-convicts, Sunday Morakinyo, alongside 51 other inmates. Olowokere, who was 17 when he was arrested in November 2010, had been sentenced to death in 2014 for armed robbery, conspiracy, and theft. His case gained public attention after his mother's plea on podcast went viral, prompting calls for intervention. Following the public outcry, Governor Adeleke instructed the state's Attorney General to initiate the pardon process. In a statement released on Thursday, Governor Adeleke confirmed the pardon of Olowokere, Morankio, and 51 others, based on the recommendations of the State Advisory Council on Prerogative of Mercy. Governor Adeleke, citing his constitutional powers, announced the pardons, emphasizing that the decision was made in the spirit of grace and mercy. The governor's action follows his commitment to using prerogative of mercy for deserving cases within the state's correctional facilities. Gentlemen, that's a lot. Let me start from you, Dr. K. Can we have your quick takes on these three issues?
Sure. Let me first of all express my condolences to the governor of that state, and then all the members of their family and all that. But having said that, to what extent or when are we even going to get out of all these series of accidental discharge? I don't know whether you also heard about the story of the custom men that shot this guy at very close to our border. That God save that guy will have died. That estate agent man.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Now, this kind of scenario too happened around this time last year, still in the same north. The question now arises, are those aircrafts, those Tucano jets, are they not having instruments for them to be able to determine where they are targeting? Two, don't they also have instruments that will make their shootings to be precise at wherever they are trying to target? So these are issues, because you cannot keep on killing people and you're now saying it's a mistake. Well, when you now go back to condole with them, will that bring them back to life? Let's leave that alone. Let's come to Adeleke's issue. You see, I will have to appreciate Governor Adeleke for his intervention in that boy's case.
Dr. K, 1 minute, please, before you get into Adeleke. I want to read something. Last December, a military airstrike that hit Studumbiri village in northern Kaduna State killed more than 120 people.
Oh.
And in September, another airstrike, September last year,
Yes.
in Kaduna State killed 24 people.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
This year, in error, 10 people have been killed.
In error to somebody who was reversing a vehicle within the barracks.
The Air Force base.
And he killed that girl.
One of our finest
pilots. And somebody is saying it's a mistake. No, so excuse me. For how long are we going to stop all these mistakes? And
unfortunately,
in Yoruba,
are people held to account for this?
In Yoruba, they will say, Ojo gate, kojo gate, arori wole, and you call lori jadi. That is to say, you are saying, it's like.
Okay.
But the person that entered that house the person entered with a bad leg. And the person coming out is also coming out with a bad leg. Who is now telling me that the person that is coming out is not the one that entered?
Okay.
Do you understand? So we need to put a stop to this by bringing some people to book.
Okay.
Now to Adeleke. It's a good thing that Governor Adeleke has done. Because, one, when the guy was arrested, we read in that story. In fact, the stories have been brandishing 2 ages. 14 and 17. We wouldn't even know which one is 14, which one is 17.
I think there are many sides to that story.
You know, now that even I think the DPO or the IPO or somebody in the police station was asking for a bribe of 30,000 naira, and the mother cannot afford that, but was able to come up with 20,000 naira. And are we now saying that was why that boy was taken to court? That's number one. Number two, people had also Googled the antecedents of that judge. I don't know whether you have read about antecedent of that judge, that he had been doing similar things along the line, to the extent that he even had an issue with NJC. Okay. That he was summoned by NJC.
Okay.
So what are we now talking about? Putting that small boy on a death row? Is it supposed to be because of ordinary chicken and egg? How about the people that have stolen our billions, that are still working freely on the streets of Nigeria and are even in charge of governance? We are aware now, somebody that was supposed to have gone to jail, but because he jumped from one place to the other, we now know his position. A whole load of them there.
I had a teacher in college who said that justice is the will of the stronger party. I think that is definitive of Nigeria.
We are taking Nigeria to be like animal farm, which is not supposed to be.
Oh well, let's bring in our diaspora guests now. Sure, let me come to you. Sure, can I have your quick takes? Can we have your quick takes on those three issues or any of them that seeks your fancy?
Thank you, Chukwuma. Good afternoon once again.
Good afternoon.
Little England. So, regarding these topics, let me start with the bleak Christmas that you spoke about. It's not a surprise that many of our brothers and sisters back home in Nigeria had a very quiet Christmas. Things are very expensive. I mean, the inflation is at all-time high. So, struggling to do the things they would normally do. See, so, for someone like myself growing up, I grew up around, middle class, lower class. It was all mixed where I grew up. And I remember vividly that you have people like teachers. Some of my friends' parents were teachers, civil servants, who were not paid a lot of, but the money they were paid at the time was sufficient for them to buy the things they needed. Buying a chicken wasn't luxury. I was looking online in the last couple of weeks or last 7 days, and I saw that chicken, like the biggest chicken in some markets in Lagos, was selling for about 40,000 naira. That is more than the minimum wage of the lowest paid civil servant in Nigeria. So how do you expect people to feed? I mean, I was speaking to my mom recently, and she was telling me that, do I remember that she bought snails? Because my mom, she loves snails and the rest of it. So she ordered snails, and I remember she sent someone to the market at the end of August this year, and each snail sold in Ibadan for 2,200 naira, like the biggest size. She had to buy more in October, middle of October. It was sold for 2,500 naira. It had gone up by 300. And by December 22, when she sent someone, it was 3,500. So you can see that inflation is just not controlled, and people would struggle to buy the basic. I'm not saying everybody should eat snails if it's expensive, but there are some basic things, rice, staple food in Nigeria. This is why we have government, because people will start asking you, is that the fault of the government? Yes, this is why we have government. Otherwise, we might as well get rid of the government and let people just decide whatever they want. So things are really, really tough. I tell my friends who live in the UK to say, whatever you send to your parents or the people you support in Nigeria, you need to increase it. Because a lot of my friends in the UK, some of them who came around the same time as myself over 2 decades ago, they've lost interest in Nigeria. They don't even know what's going on in Nigeria. So I'm the one that tells them what's going on, how expensive things are. So I often tell them, please increase whatever you're sending to your parents, because if you still think 5,000 is enough to buy anything in Nigeria, you're wasting your time.
Okay, sure. Can I come in now?
Yes, go on.
All right. Are you aware that the president recognizes that there is hard time, that there is hardship, that people have to assemble in his Bodilon residence to take palliatives home? In reference to the government that you talked about. Government understands. I'm just telling you. Are you aware?
So, Chukwuma, it's okay for you and I to be aware that there's hardship and commentate on it. it is not enough for the president to recognize that there's hardship. His primary objective is providing for the people, providing an enabling environment where people will not queue up at the door. I mean, I can't think of any other country. There might be some other countries, but I do not know of any other country in the world where people would go and queue up at the country home of their president to get handouts for Christmas. That is an indictment on the president and the presidency. You need to make these people self-sufficient. It's not new that you give arms to people, but the number of people you see, queuing up for this sort of arms is increasing exponentially. And that is why you had stampede in Ibadan and Abuja and Anambra. It's not new to give things to the needy, but the amount of people going now has increased.
Exponentially.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a video of some cows that are being ranched in Osapa in Lagos, and someone was making the argument that, you see, the cows that are ranched, they are bigger, not like the ones that had to trek from north down to south. And I agree. So I probed. I said, how much is this brown one? And they told me it weighs 680 kilograms and it is 4.2 million naira for one cow. In 2014, some of the biggest cows in Nigeria sold for 200,000 naira.
Sure.
So, like I joke with my friends, I always say, the price of a cow BC, and they say, before Christ. I said, no, I said before change. Anything 2014 and older is in Nigeria is BC, before they brought their change. So 2014 BC, a cow sold for 200,000 naira, and you're buying the same for 4.2 million naira. So the government have their work cut out, because if we don't solve this problem, you will see more stampede, unfortunately. Going to the issue of our military, all these friendly fires, is one too many. I'm glad that you mentioned the one that happened around this time last year, where 120 people were killed accidentally, and the one that happened before that, and the one that happened before that. And this is a worry when I see some of our people say, we need more military hardware, we need, our arsenal needs to be reinforced, we need to get the strongest jets and the most powerful ballistic missiles. These guys that handle the heavy weapons, if you give them ballistic missiles, they might wipe all of us out and say it's a mistake. I genuinely worry for these guys. Is it that they are not trained on how to use these things, or what exactly is the issue? There needs to be consequences. You cannot continue to kill citizens in the name of protecting them. I'm glad and I'm grateful for the men and women who protect us. But please, if you're going to do it, let us do it safely. We cannot continue to kill Nigerians in the name of protecting them. It is not good enough. And lastly, to talk about the state incident, I've seen the state judiciary of course firing, and that that has been told has not been the full story. Now, I'm not saying you should believe them, because we have Delifaro Temi saying that the judiciary, it is what it is, and you can't take their words at surface level. But what they are saying is the guy that was and his accomplice that were arrested and sentenced to death, they have a history of robbery, even at gunpoint. That is what the Osun State Judiciary, that this guy, they have people for their phones and robbing for their money, and that this particular incident that they went to a poultry farm where they tried to rob people of their chicken. That it's not one chicken, it's about chickens and eggs, and the value at the time was 20,000 naira and the rest of it. So I'm just saying that if the story is more than just one chicken or one fowl, let's get the full story out. Regardless, even if it was a whole poultry, I don't think it deserves death sentence. There are people, they become sick, they get crutches, they have severe pain, they have neck braces and all these things. What punishment are they getting when they are found out? You can't just keep sentencing Nigerians to death sentence over stealing chicken and fowl and a poultry or whatever. But the people in charge of the Commonwealth that are meant to, supervise the sharing of our Commonwealth, they take it for themselves and their children. I saw the picture of Wike visiting the president in his Bodilon residence. Was it 2 days ago with his children? And there's nothing wrong with that. The minister has gone to see the president to wish him Merry Christmas. He took his 2 sons. But when it is time for election, it is somebody else's sons that they will invite to come and work for them. We need to look at these things closely. And for those, my brothers, especially not sisters, most of my brothers in Nigeria, every 4 years, they would invite you to come and cause chaos and havoc. But when it is time to visit the president and introduce their sons, they will never invite you. When their children are getting married, you are not invited. But every 4 years, they will call you and send you to go and cause mayhem and chaos and, take the lives of your own brothers and sisters. We all need to do better as citizens. When they call us, let's turn them down. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Sure, this is quite sobering, but very insightful. Anyway, it's what do? We keep talking. Take leadership to account. That is the only way we can get out of this bind. Now, KJ, can we have your quick takes on these topics?
Much, Mr. Chukuma, and thank you to everybody who is in this discussion today. I will take it from where show stopped, and I want to go further to say to those Nigerians who are always engaging in ballot snatching, grabbing it, running with it, and taking it. Look, when they want to give their daughters for marriage, they don't give their daughters to you. You're not even invited in the celebration. All you do is go to ballot boxes, snatch it at the expense of your life. When shall we be wise to stop? If it gets to the time of giving their children to marriages, they don't call you. They give to their so-called political opponents. They are not even invited. All of them assemble and do the needful for themselves. The next 4 years, they invite you again to come and do the damage, and you are satisfied doing that. Shall we learn? This is a lesson for all of us. See what is going on, learn from it. Now, going back to the topic for today. Look, in other jurisdiction, this judge, his judgment will have been called for judicial review all around. Whatever case I've been able to handle in the past will be reviewed for us to be sure that there has not been miscarriage of justice all through. So I think the governor have done well, but let's go beyond that point. Let's review what other judgments he has carried out, and go ahead. If you ask me, I would say let even the Nigeria Judicial Commission go ahead to review some of these judgments around the states to see how miscarriage of justice have been taking place in Nigeria, because there are too many people like him languishing in jail for no just cause or little cause. Them ordinarily detention would have served all the time they're supposed to have. Now, the other content about the my question is to the governor: when will this God that is God's God, it is the will of God?
An act of God.
Yeah, the act of God. When will this act of God affect their own children and themselves? What does this act of God only affect the poor people who are struggling to survive in Nigeria? You see, looking at this thing, Amnesty International were reporting that over 100 Nigerians have been mistakenly, according to them, killed by their force since 2017. How will this, that is so concerned about the poor people, and go look at it? I'm not too sure, because I've done one work or the other in that community. Look at the population of that community and take inventory, or rather census of who are you discover why they so the mistake. Look, the jets, fighter jets, are precision equipment, precision gadgets, or whatever you want to call them. They have precision. They will give you exactly the location, the place where you are. So if in a good map and you have somebody who is trained, just like Shaw said, why will you be making a mistake? Because you can see clearly from the air than you see from the ground. So I don't even buy that statement, And I mean, the same thing was said when this so-called new terrorist trying to eliminate now. Some people raised the eyeball, but they said, no, it's a friendly one, very friendly, not going to commit any problem, just helping the people. Today, we are now fighting them and even using the fighter jet to destroy innocent lives. I think it's very unfortunate. And now, let us, okay, I think what's the right topic I want to talk about? Yeah, so eventually the one of the poverty thing, it's not today now, I mean, if you look at it, we have been coming down this road for a long time, but because it doesn't concern the rich. A president who says he's taking care, is understanding what is going on with the people of Nigeria. You are buying a jet. You are renovating the house of the vice president. You are buying a new jet. National Assembly people are increasing their wages. You are driving one of the most expensive vehicles any Nigerian president have ever driven, and you still tell me that you understand what the people of Nigeria are going through. I don't, you see, it beats my imagination because this kind of thing can't happen in some other, other countries. It can't happen. The people will come after you. But we are not saying people should come after. We are saying that people should now get sense and know what to do. When they are called to do the dirty job, don't do it because they will not use their children to do it. Look, there's somebody who is sitting at the table and is telling you that he understands what you are going through, but yet his entourage has never reduced. His entourage traveling abroad has not reduced. His going abroad frequently have not reduced. His pay has not reduced. His monies, in fact, the last time his wife donated 1 billion naira. None of us know where that money comes from because there's not supposed to be any budgetary allocation. That office of the
First lady.
Yes, the wife of the president. So where did the money come from? Where is this money coming from? And who are the people giving the money? These are the questions. You see, gone are the days Nigerians should keep just sitting down and looking.
Okay.
Have to ask for the representative. Look, what happens here is they will call the representative and tell you we do not want you to approve that budget. And that's what you can do. You have to follow it or next. If not, you will not come back to the house.
All right.
We have to get to the point where Nigerians can be able to do that. And then to teach them a lesson. If not, these guys are just after themselves. Nigerians should wake up. They are after themselves, not you. Thank you.
All right, KJ, thank you very much. So many questions looking for answers. I like one of the questions you asked. This act of God, at what point will it affect their children and relations? And I also want to add, this act of God, at what point will this act turn around the economy so that the economy of Sokoto State will suddenly become like the economy of California? KJ, your suit is good. You looked up on it, by the way. I just said to commend it. It's fine. Now let's bring in Flagship into the show. Flagship, good afternoon once again. Can we have your quick text, sir? Flagship, go ahead. You might need to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, sorry about that. Good morning, Mr. Chukwuma, and to the guest, Kayode. Once again, good morning. Show, KJ, and Rudolph, good morning. And also to the viewers, compliments of the season. Mr. Chukwuma, if I was the president of Nigeria as of today, I would be weary and tired of this one too many casualties by the military that I command. And my face in the eyes of the world would be hidden in shame that these events are now a reoccurring, yearly reoccurring decimal in my country. So I will be very, very ashamed that I don't have command of the armed forces I'm in charge of. Before I go further, my condolences against families in the state that suffered this. This is one of these events. It brings me the question of the tax training the military gets, considering the amount in budget that they give to these guys. Again, 2025 budget was just rolled out by the president last week or thereabout. And the biggest chunk of it is going to the military. We have these jets. We are buying more from France. The two that we have, we've not been able to successfully use it and aim at a specific target that is non-civilian and report to the Nigerian people that, yes, this activity was carried out and successful with no casualties. You see, at this point, I'm beginning to ask the military, it's not enough to say that the bomb was not, the casualties rather, was not as a result of the direct bombing of the jets, but it was a secondary explosion that's hogwash in the eyes or the ears of anyone that listens to such an excuse. How do you train? It makes sense to me now when I think back and I see what the U.S. military said when they were sending those to the Nigerian military that before they use it, they have to get permission and clearance from the U.S. Air Force before those jets get in the sky, any combat mission. My question is, do we still have to continue bombing as a tactic to defer these guys or to bring them down. Why must we go in the skies? The nation is not in an active war situation. And the insecurity situation we are dealing with Nigeria does not require an air approach, because since 2015 to date, scores of Nigerians have gone. Isn't it time that the military reconsider its tactical approach on this situation? Maybe they need some more training. I mean, it's not shameful to say we don't understand these jets yet. We don't know how it works. It's not enough to get in the jet and get in the sky and throw a bomb on the ground and say, oh, well, yeah, it's not us. It was secondary explosion. Secondary explosion from what? At this point, the military needs to go back, reevaluate their tactical measures and how they are trying to do this thing. They need to start thinking of other measures and stop getting in the sky to throw bombs down. Kaduna twice, and now Sokoto, and many others that have been reported. It's enough. They should begin to think of other measures on how to focus on dealing with this insurgency that we're having in Nigeria. They have failed in air attacks as it is right now. And we are tired of giving condolences and hearing of these civilian casualties and come out to say it's a mistake and move on. Somebody should be held accountable this time. There needs to be some resignations that need to be on the desk of the president. And I do not expect the president to just keep quiet and accept the explanation of the commander these orders came from to get in the sky and throw those bombs down. You know, so I think that this properly investigated. People need to and pay for the price. Those in the military that are responsible for this. It's not working at this point. With the justice system, Australia is just one. There are 36 states in Nigeria. There are many cases all around Nigeria. There's a lot of work for Justice Kekere at this point. There's a huge overhaul that they need to do within the Nigerian judicial system. Many of the cases that are, or judgments rather, are passed based on whoever has the highest bid or could favor the judge or whoever could influence them. And you throw a person in jail for what? Over a decade. This is not acceptable. So they need to go back and reevaluate. And I think the NJC need to come in here to begin to reevaluate many of these cases all around the country. We have many innocent Nigerians that are languishing in jail that ought not to be there. And like everybody else has said, those that need to be in jail are strutting about in Nigeria with the billions and trillions that they have carted away from the people, and nobody seems to be saying anything to them. I think that the Nigerian judicial system needs a serious overhaul. With reference to hunger in Nigeria, I mean, Christmas Day or the week before, the week of Christmas, you saw what happened. If Nigeria is not in abject poverty and multidimensional poverty, you will not have cases of this nature. A friend of mine shared a video with me yesterday here in Atlanta. They went to feed hungry, or the homeless, the hungry are back. They went to feed the homeless in downtown Atlanta, where we find them most. In many states, that's where you find the homeless people. And I saw the video and how they were giving out food to the people. Yeah, I mean, you can't even tell that there's such a crowd there. Mind you, these guys are not hungry. They are just homeless. And they had this thing done peacefully and quietly. The nation is in serious hunger at this moment. That's why 35 kids, as reported by the government, would go. That's why the number in Anambra State would go. Abuja, and so many others. Nigeria is in a deep mess. And hunger is overestimated to say just hunger or multidimensional hunger. The people are dying of hunger by the day. And something needs to be done. It's not just enough for the president to acknowledge it and say it's baby pains and everybody should bear it, light coming down the end of the tunnel. We don't want the light at the end of the tunnel. We need the light here so we can navigate our way out of the tunnel and get over on the other side. I'll leave it there for now.
Thank you very much for these wonderful takes. Now, Dr. Damages, how much damage can you do to these topics? Quick one, sir.
All right, thank you so much. I'm totally disappointed at what my co-panelists have been saying. From Coyote to Show and Flagship, even KJ. I thought KJ was smarter than this. KJ was complaining about not being invited to the marriage of politicians. If KJ, if you want to marry the daughter of Wike or somebody, just let us know. We will work out something and get you invited to. And the people talking about Bleak Christmas. Did you guys see the new house that Wizkid bought? And Burna Boy was turning Lagos into. We complain too much. Show was complaining that the president was giving out arms and helping people. He was what is going on. The people we complain about, they don't care. Did you guys watch the president at the media chat? He is telling you that his reforms are working because his friend who had Rolls Royce, 5 of them, is now driving Honda. That is how he measures things. It's working. And he's telling you that he increased the money he pays to the minimum wage from 35 to 70. Why he didn't tell anybody and nobody asked him was that 70 would not be able to buy what 35 used to buy when Buhari was there. So this is the country we have. It's quite unfortunate. The flagship and multidimensional poverty. We have to find a new story, a new script. Otherwise, we will also get jetted. That's it, Chukuma.
Oh, well, Dr. Damages, you have actually lived your name, and I'm not sure there's any more damage you can do than what you have done already. Anyway, thanks, gentlemen, for this profound take. Very insightful from the 5 of you. Now, let's get into the major topic of discussion, which is Nigeria collaborating with France to destabilize Niger Republic, and that's coming from the head of state of Niger. Now, the federal government on Thursday dismissed the allegations made by General Abdurrahmane Tijani, the military leader of Niger Republic, who accused Nigeria of colluding with France to destabilize his country through a proxy group, the Lakurawa terrorists. Now, in a statement, the Nigerian government categorically denied any involvement in covert or overt alliances with France or any other nation to orchestrate terrorist activities or destabilize Niger, especially following the undemocratic leadership change in Niger in July 2023. Mohamed Idris, Minister of Information and National Orientation, called the accusations absurd and emphasized that it was unreasonable to suggest that Nigeria will conspire with any foreign power to disrupt the peace and security of its neighboring country. He reiterated Nigeria's long-standing commitment to regional stability and peace, affirming that the country had no intention of destabilizing Niger. He further affirmed that Tijani's allegations were unfounded, emphasizing that such claims had no basis in fact. The minister's statement titled, Niger Republic military leaders' allegations against Nigeria are baseless. Federal government was issued on Thursday in response to the viral interview given by Tijani. Oh well, gentlemen, that's it. Dr. K, let me start from you here now. Niger is smoking fire. Tijani is smoking fire. We listened to a video of his interview where he alleged that, look, Nigeria...
And finished the damaging of the whole thing.
Okay.
Now, in the first instance, when France granted Niger Republic independence, were they giving freedom? There are two different things, independence and freedom.
Okay.
Were they giving freedom?
Political and economic?
Both political, economic, social, cultural,
okay,
technical. Because economically, their reserves must be with Central Bank of France. And whenever they need money, they have to request for that money before they will give it. before a Nigerian can be given a contract there, French companies must have maybe decide to leave it.
Okay, they will get first of all refusal.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Militarily, the same thing. Culturally, the same thing. Educationally, the same thing. Their apron, the whole apron of Niger Republic had been tied to that of France. To the extent that even the uranium they were taking from there, you know how much they were paying? And you know how much they were selling that uranium? It was virtually feeding the economy of France and in support of their political leaders. And somebody now came, that's Chichani. He said, enough is enough. Enough is enough. My people need freedom. We got to also grow on our own. We got to determine our future. He said, oh boy, pack your load and go. Maybe we have gotten independence. Why can't we have freedom? What are we supposed to do as a brother? As a brother that sees his own brother being suffered by another person, by a stranger. As ECOWAS community, even when we are talking about democracy or no democracy, are we not first of all, Yoruba will say, that is, first of all, send away the fox before you now decide to be blaming the hen.
For losing guard.
For losing guard. Do you understand? What were we doing then? We said we were going there with our military might to go and fight them.
Okay, Doctor.
I was among those that wrote papers against military intervention from ECOWAS to Niger Republic. I still have those papers with me.
Okay, Dr. K, in the light of all this
now I'm building the story. Okay. I'm just showing you the background.
Okay.
I'm showing you the background. Now, these people have said France should go. France had gone. Remember, Americans too. They were also having their base there. Okay? I don't want to go into the issue of our president with that of FBI cases that were brought up during the election.
Okay.
Don't let us go there.
Okay.
Because everybody is privy to that. Okay? But then there is a string of that to whatever we are discussing now. All right? Now, you went to France. You now went to, that man, Macron invited you for, was it lunch or dinner or breakfast or whatever. You went with your wife. And the next thing was that you went to sign an agreement that, okay, you can come down and be mining our resources and that. And you can also have your military hardware to be taking care, to be safeguarding your installations in your mining activities. Now the question, Chukuma, is this. The foreigners in the south that are mining oil here and there, doing all sorts of oil and gas activities, were they also bringing in their security to come and man those things? Number one. Number two, don't we have our own security apparatus? Even if we want to be too magnanimous to France, to be safeguarding that. Ajekela no, omokule ni, tani omopa jaro lo pomoje. That is, the witch cried yesterday. The baby died today. Who will not say that it was the witch that cried yesterday that killed that baby? Yesterday, you were fighting these people that they should return back, civilian, that had been aiding and abetting France to carry away their resources, to cut away their resources, to give the independence without freedom. Today now, you are coming to say these people can come and have their military base in your country, which is too close to their own country. What do you think is causing Iran, Russia, Ukraine, Russia war? Is it not because of NATO military base to be set up in Ukraine, which is too close to Russia. So what are you talking about? Anyway, I'm not saying Tijani, I said the right thing. Neither am I saying our own father. But with all this, I mean, we can always know where the pendulum
Swings.
is swinging.
All right, thank you, Dr. K. Now, let's come to our brothers in the diaspora. KJ, I want you to help us understand. Since our president was sworn into office, he's been to France like 5 times. He's been gravitating towards France. Now, does it look like he's going to France and the signing of the military
Republic? We also face Nigeria.
Okay,
and there is nothing Nigeria will be able to do.
When you talk about we are going to use to fight Boko Haram, and 3 days ago, Boko Haram used their own, terrorists used their own drones to fire our military base. And now, injured 6 soldiers. After the drones were shot down, they had already done the damage. Now, does it look like, is there a pointer to the fact, or does it lend credence to the statement made by General Tijani that France is the one sponsoring Boko Haram?
No, and I will explain.
Okay.
You see, the fight between Nigeria and Boko Haram is beyond purchases of Tucano jets or purchases of drone from Turkey or wherever. Our military is one of the best.
Okay.
If not in the whole world, but in Africa. Okay? But we lack something that has never allowed us to face our Boko Haram.
Okay.
You know what we lack? Sincerity of purpose.
Don't you think that
Let me land now.
Don't you think
Let me
that
land.
Boko Haram has international affiliation that has made it difficult for
I
the
say
Nigerian government?
wait. Let me tell you this. There is what we call real external insurgents. Okay? And there is what we call intentionally created insurgents. That is self-inflicted terrorism. What we have in Nigeria is about self. You know why it's self? You know why it's self-inflicted? Because those that are in that place, they have their cronies that need to be mining our resources free of charge. And how will they be able to do it? By sending all the villagers to the IDP camp.
Dr. K.
And that's why they cannot quench them.
I'm happy that you have come back to the point I raised before. Now, let's bring in our diaspora guest. The network has improved. Like, KJ, can you hear me now? Okay, not in yet. So, now, I'm happy that you have come back to the point I raised before that, look, does it look like France is the one aiding?
It's not about France.
You said that there are some interests.
I said, listen now, if our leaders are not aiding them, it's just like me coming here.
Do you think that France is using our leaders to aid them?
Listen now, you answer with this one I want to ask you.
Okay. No,
me,
you don't
listen
ask.
now.
You are my guest.
We can also ask. I can also ask you.
I'll ask you.
I'm stealing your camera. I'm stealing this camera, taking it away. And there is nobody stopping me. Are you with me? Your security is there, it's not stopping me. You are there, you're not stopping me. Your manager is there, it's not stopping me. Does that not mean that somebody is aiding me? And tomorrow somebody will be saying, your cameras are missing.
The person
your cameras
that is not
are missing.
Stopping you could be aiding you.
You say what?
The security that is not stopping you could be aiding you.
It could also be you. The security cannot just aid me. It must have been given instruction from the top. The military, okay, listen to this. The military, are you aware of the time I think South African people, they came here to come and assist us in fighting Boko Haram, to gas these people out. They were going to gas those people out. And by the time they were going to gas them out, those people have already used gas mask. And they now will lay those, they ambushed our own men on the way. So who has given them that information?
Okay, Dr. Kayode, you seem to be missing the import of my question. My question is this. If you allege that our leaders...
Who is alleging?
If you say that our leaders are the ones who are probably, or that have probably created this system, because we have the ability...
Are we fighting it?
Because
When those people will be arrested, and then you'll be releasing them.
Hold on, let me finish my question. Because according to you, we have been lackluster in fighting these terrorists. Now, my question is, does it look like France is using our leaders to do that?
Or our leaders are not doing what they are supposed to do. And by so doing, they are now giving France another step forward to create another problem. It's just like you are trying to solve a problem to create another problem. Now you are bringing France to come and explore your resources. Okay? And then you are asking them to come with their military hardware. Where is that one done? It's never done. Don't you also think that the Nigerians and their affiliates will also look for a way to come and be attacking France there? And when they're now attacking France, who suffer it?
Okay,
it will be on our land.
Okay, doctor, hold on to your thoughts. I understand that our diaspora guests are in. Now, KJ, let me come to you. The head of state of Niger, General Abdurrahmane Tchiani, made very weighty allegations that looks like, in fact, not looks like, that France is the one sponsoring Boko Haram terrorists, and that they want to use it through the Lakurawa and other groups to... What's your reaction to that kind of allegation?
Well, I listened to him and I went back to review what had gone for years. And like he said, those NGOs in Maiduguri, like I'm going to refer to the Chief of Army Staff, when they first went to Maiduguri, they rented houses for 10 years and above. That means something we don't know. Now, remember before the day of Idris Garbi, the president of the Republic, Chad, he said something about that we are not serious dealing with the issue of, insurgents, and that's why they dislodged themselves from that, and said to face these people. They took themselves out the combination of forces that were put together. Now, the guy in jail, we don't know. Remember, these people have been fighting insurgents for long. And if you also remember, I'm just touching points, I'll leave it for the viewers to conclude. The Southern of Sokoto once said that any fight against Boko Haram, a fight against Allah. So, if you just oppose all that together, see that just like Mr. Kayode is saying in the studio, there is no political will to deal with the issue. It took Abacha less than 6 months to deal with, the so-called Metaseni. He was deliberate about it. He went about it the way it should be taken and brought it to an end. When shall our Nigerian leaders learn to tell us the truth? Because remember also that some people, just like he has given the example of going there and everybody was wearing masks, there is an informant inside the system that keep telling these people what's about to happen and they get ready for it. If not, tell me, there was a video trending of more than 6 armored vehicles belonging to the Nigerian Army being burnt, in somewhere in those Sambisa forests, and nobody has said anything about it. Instead, your airline or your fighter pilots are making mistakes to bomb civilians. Don't they see the smoke of those vehicles where they are? I know that those are the places where the insurgents are. These are things that we need to tell ourselves the truth. The most painful part of it all, my brother, is that our leaders or the people in authority who are controlling the affairs of Nigeria do not want to tell themselves the truth. And that is why it is almost impossible to deal with what is going on in Nigeria. This is going to happen again. And let me tell you, I totally agree with the man because they have been dealing with these issues for long. I totally agree. Look, there's also a training video on the internet where the pipelines were being burnt from Nigeria. They were saying that it was sabotaged by the Nigerians. Whether that is true or not remains for us to verify. There's also a video that is trending where a representative of one of the European countries making a very insightful statement against the Western powers, especially France, on how it's helping to destabilize countries in sub-Saharan Africa. These are facts. So when somebody comes and say it is not true, your neighbor is complaining of the person who comes to steal his things, and then you decide to tell that same person who is complaining about to come and live in your house. Okay, so that is, are you saying what? How do you want your neighbor to view you now? Because these people have said these guys have been with us for over 40 years. They've not been useful to us. They've not helped us develop the poorest countries in the world, and then we go and embrace them. You see, Mr. Chukwu, this is what I keep saying here. Nigerian policies are made on friendly basis. If I'm friends with you, I will write out policies that will favor you, not favoring the country. We put our friendship. Hey, I need to stop there. Let me digress a bit. Do you remember when Tinubu went for an official function somewhere in Europe? I'm trying to remember the country now. And his two sons placed before the ambassador of Nigeria. The people who were welcoming him, he had to introduce his two sons before he introduced the ambassador of Nigeria. What else can you say that is not personal, much more than this one which you see? Of what positions are those two sons of his? What is the economic value of those individuals in Nigeria as it is now? What are their political portfolio that they are holding for Nigeria? That they have
presidents, KJ, presidents travel with their children.
And the protocol will not be followed. And protocol will not be followed.
Bill Clinton used to travel with Chelsea.
And he will not follow protocol.
Obama used to travel with...
Did they put them before the American ambassador?
Oh, we not follow protocol.
And they were young children going for education. They were young. They were like young teenagers. You can't compare this to like 30, 40-year-olds.
You see, the truth is that we need to tell ourselves the bare truth. And as long as we, the Nigerian people, refuse to these things out, let me tell you, Biden got in trouble taking his son to China. The press were asking him, who is going to pay for his seat? You mean you carried your son to China on our own taxpayers' money? It's there out there in the press. You can look for it. Okay, he had to answer the press asking him, why did you take your son to China? Of what benefit is it to America? So what I'm simply saying, that we need to ask these people this question. We cannot just keep our hands and just allow them to do whatever they want to do, because that is where accountability first starts from. If you're not afraid of people who...
Nigerian president's son visited a certain place in Nigeria, and more like a guard of honor was mounted for him, and he took salute from soldiers and security agencies. Is there anything wrong with that?
Is that normal?
Is there anything wrong with that? I mean, he's the president's son.
So he's now the commander-in-chief?
He's the commander-in-chief.
Right? And so on what basis is it? In fact, I heard the chief of army staff trying to defend that, saying, it is a brigade of guard, whatever he called them.
Whatever it is.
Whatever they are. So since you people in Nigeria used to beat Nigerian citizens for wearing military uniform who are not military people, why didn't the military who were there with him beat those people and take over and naked them and carry them to guard rooms as you do other citizens, since they are not army people? You see, these are the truth we need to tell ourselves. These guys are, look, until we begin to write policies that will favor the Nigerian people and the Nigerian government, the land called Nigeria, until we put our friendship below the national interest, if we continue to write policies that will favor us and our friends and our family, my brother, even the next 50 years, we'll still be where we are.
All right, so much. That's a lot, KJ. That's a lot. Now, let's bring in Flagship into this. Flagship, there's a question I asked Dr. K here, but I would like you I would like to have your own perspective. Now, about 2 weeks ago, we had the Nigerian military display publicly, drones that are acquired from Turkey, and that they will use that in fighting terrorists. But just like 3 days ago, we had terrorists, use drones to attack Nigeria's military base, and in the process, 6 soldiers were injured. Does this give some kind of credence to what the Niger head of state has said, that, look, France is the one sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria and against Niger? If you put in the fact that, look, one drone is valued at about $5 million. So these terrorists, do they have enough money to buy like 15 million to buy 3 drones. Does it look like it's been supplied by one foreign country or the other? What do you make of it? Is it some kind of coincidence or what?
Well, not long ago, I think it was the United Arab Emirates. They sent us a list of those who have the power to do such. I cannot say vividly that it is France as a country that is doing that. The cost of those drones, if they have the might and power to purchase that and give it to terrorists who do a better job at precision targets than our trained military that we spend billions of dollars on. We know who the people are, whether France, whether individuals in Nigeria, or special interests wherever they are from, or if those drones are being flown or controlled from somewhere outside the shores of Nigeria, we do not know. If they are telling me that those drones, as costly as they are being manned by these terrorists in Nigeria, I am very, very concerned, highly concerned that such an activity is taking place and we are not able to quell it. And that the people who are doing it are supposedly people who are jungle trained, who do not have access to such technologies, not to talk about using it and in such a precise manner that they can target a base, a military base, and take out 6 soldiers. That's hard to believe that is the terrorists in Nigeria. It is possible that those drones are not even in the shores of Nigeria. They could be flown from somewhere else and manned from somewhere else. There's that technology today. The U.S. had it in Niger until they kicked out. Recently, we have drones here that were reported in the U.S. all around the East Coast and some parts of the U.S. And they are telling us they don't know where they are being operated from or who owns those drones. So I find it hard to believe that it is the terrorists in Nigeria that are. I would be in shock. And if the president is putting this blame, or the army chief is putting this blame on terrorists in Nigeria with this kind of precision, then I think we're in a big trouble. In my opinion, that drone controlled in Nigeria, it's coming out of somewhere else. Have they been able to track them? Do they know where they take off from and where they land when they finish their operations? And who gives them this information precisely? I have some friends who are in the military, Air Force to be precise. And based on how they explain operations go, for a drone or a fighter jet to be up in the sky and go for a target, someone has to be on the ground that has taken a device that is GPS coordinated, place it where they think they need to strike, and it gives the coordinates to the jets, all the drones. And fighter pilot off in or jam the signals of this drone, and they know who it is.
Okay. All right, thanks very much, Flagship. Now, Dr. Damages, let me come to you. Dr. Damages, we have heard stories of Nigerian military colluding with terrorists. We have had cases, even the National Security Advisor, like 6 weeks ago, came out to tell us that, look, most...
Thank you, Chukuma. I find it difficult, to believe how unpatriotic some of are. You have, who do you want to believe? Is it the Nuhu, the national advisor of Niger, or this leader of this small African country called Niger? I want to believe Nuhu Ribadu, security advisor, told us that the Africans actually wanted to build this in Nigeria. And he said, no, he said, not on my watch. It won't happen while I'm national secretary. Why would the French to come and build a base? And so really change how we see. I think being patriotic will make us get a good view of what is actually happening. And this out there for people to think about. Maybe these people are, great national security advisor, Nuhu Rebadu. You know that France is only 213 million square mile. Nigeria is about if the to find to get Niger to become a state in Nigeria. Nigeria can double its, and this can happen why Trump is taking Greenland and making Canada the 31st state of America and taking the Panama Canal. So this is what I want us to think when we.
There's that truth gap in this country already.
All right, Dr. Damages. Tijani also said that they made a report through our Director of Nigerian Intelligence Agency. And up until the time he made that statement that Nigeria and France were colluding to destabilize Niger, nothing had come out of that report. More like a petition he sent to our DG, former DG of NIA. It wasn't recent. He did it even before this person retired. And up until this time, nothing came out of it. What does that tell you?
What should it tell you? Have they ever reported back to you, the Nigerian intelligence agencies, because there are so many of them? Have they reported back to you? Do we know what they do? When was the last time the National Assembly called them in?
But the NSA reported that, look, arms and ammunition used by terrorists are from Nigerian military arsenal. What more report do we need?
But we hear them. You see instances where they overrun the military and take their arms. We know that. So they can't lie about that one. You know, like they were trying to lie about the Sokoto incident until the governor went there and we saw dead bodies and civilians lying that it didn't happen. So when they cannot lie, that's when they will come out and tell you this is what's happening. We know that.
Dr. Damages, let me stay with you on this. Like 2 weeks ago, was it proper for our military to come and display drones that they acquired that they were going to use to fight terrorists? Was it proper? That public posturing, was it important? Because a few days after that, as usual, the terrorists went a step ahead of them to use drones against them. Shouldn't there be some kind of information management and intelligence? When you acquire Tucano jets, when you acquire drones, do you have to publicly display them? Is it a show of force? Should it be a show of force?
You know, when Obama said he would not sell these sophisticated weapons to Nigeria, people were against Obama, that he didn't want Jonathan to succeed. But you are seeing the impact. With this question I'm wondering, I don't know if this is happening. They say it's an accident. 20 people killed in Onitsha, 30 people killed in Ibadan. We are going to be reacting this way as if it's nothing happening. But I wonder why the country, and it will get there. Okay. It will get to us in the South. And that's when I think that we will begin to think seriously about what to do.
Now, let's bring in Sho into this conversation now. Sho, our president says he's a reformist. And if you go back in history, you'll understand that, according to many people, Nigeria has not gained much from the Commonwealth since our independence, since the day we got independence. I mean, we can't point to anything that we have gained from Commonwealth, under the watch of Britain. It tends to be gravitating to France. Do you see any hope that in the near future, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, that Nigeria is going to benefit something from our relationship with France?
Thank you, Chukuma. I did speak on a forum similar to this, I think about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I gave an analogy that I think a lot of people might be able to relate to. I said, France to me comes across as that Egwadubu, that guy on the street, slightly, buff, goes to the gym, doesn't have a job, but what's good the exterior, but doesn't have much good for him. Because good looks or good appearance is dating the daughters of the rich men in the neighborhood, and he's abused them in public. It's been toxic relationship. They've not benefited anything, taken from him. And now, thankfully, the girls have woken up, or the ladies have woken up and are saying, we're ending this relationship. It's toxic. We don't get anything. You benefit. It's a parasitic relationship. There's nothing that we are done with. And here comes Niger, the new girl, and says, last girl, he would ever date. He wouldn't date anyone after me. I'm the one that will change him. I'm the one that will tame him. It will no longer be that, guy that exploit and abuse his girlfriends. That is exactly what Nigeria is doing. You know how this always end. It ends in tears. And that is exactly how this is going to end. We're not going to gain anything as a people. The people negotiating on behalf of Nigeria will gain whatever they will gain for their small circle. But as a collective wealth, we're not going to gain anything. Or at least I don't think we're going to gain anything. I'm not going to hold my breath. See, you can't blame the military head of Niger. He might have exaggerated, he might have embellished, but would you blame him? You know, people saying that enemy of my enemy is my friend. Who you was football or soccer as in the States will repeat. But that we don't talk about. The friend of my enemy is my enemy. And that is the way I've seen Nigeria have all of a sudden become very good friends with France, the enemy of Niger. So the Nigerian people would see Nigerian presidency, ruler, call it whatever, political elite, as their enemies. Because how come you're frolicking with our enemies? You know that we and these guys recently broke up. You know what they've done to us. And all of a sudden you become best friends. Think about it. Buhari went to France 5 times in 8 years as president. President Bola Tinubu has been there 3 or 4 times in less than 2 years. Why all of a sudden have we become best friends with France? What does Nigeria or Nigerians stand to gain from this? We're acting as if we just found out a place called France on the map and like, oh, France, what's that place? Let's go and exploit. Or explore, sorry, let's go and explore. Let's go visit. We're acting like France is new because when you say things like this, you would get the defenders of the government of the day tell you, oh, we've had this relationship with France. Don't act like it's brand new. We've always had bilateral relationship. We're not saying that's not the case, but they were not on the top of the list of our friends. And that's why I said Buhari visited 5 times in 8 years. But all of a sudden, the current president has been there 3 times, 4 times. And, the things I saw, even for optics, he reminded me of, the saying when they say, when they gave our trinkets for our brothers and sisters. I saw the wife of the president of France giving Mrs. Tin, or was it a Givenchy, or was it a Louis Vuitton bag, and they give President Tinubu some gifts. It's just, for me, it's like collecting trinkets all over again.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, they can come and mine in Nigeria. I don't mind relationship. We cannot live in isolation.
Okay.
We cannot live on an island. But what does Nigeria, not the collective few, Nigeria as a whole, what do we stand to gain? And it baffles me when you see all these big brothers across the world try to act like, they're the moral United Nations and all the nonsense organized all over the place. If you look across, the president of Ivory Coast has been president since 2010.
Okay.
Says you can only renew it once, and each tenure is 5 years. And it's been there since 2010. Why is he still there? You go to Cameroon, Paul Biya documented, he's been there for 40 years. He assumed office in 82, and that he was the prime minister before becoming president. United Nations have no problem. He wins every election. They're not going to say anything. You have Equatorial Guinea. Their one is best for 43 years. You go to Republic of Congo, with democracy. Democracy is good for Africa. You can't have military coup. Well, I'm not advocating for military coup. Keep having democratic coups all over Africa. But these guys turn a blind eye because the people they've put there do their bidding. My biggest concern and my biggest worry is, when are we going to have true Pan-Africanists that would stand up and speak for African countries?
Right.
And I'm not looking for one at a time because it's easy to destroy that person. We've seen that across the world, not just Africa, in the Central America, in the South America. You get one person that is, that you take that person out. I'm looking for who would have, a nuke or 5, and Nkrumah and people like that who, work for the defense of Africa. We have all it takes with the world, but for some reason we are kept behind, and we have the worst of us represent the best of us.
Now I'm sure this sounds quite scary. This sounds quite scary. The picture you have painted is a very scary one. Oh well, that's why we have to anchor this conversation, this topic. We'll go for a short break, and when we come back, we'll look at 63% of Nigerians and sub-Saharan Africans are multidimensionally poor. Please stay with us and don't go away.
The gift of love.
The gift of joy.
The gift of laughter.
The gift of happiness.
The gift of peace. May all these and more be yours this Yuletide season.
Merry Christmas!
Season's greetings from the management and staff of Voice of the People Television.
All right, welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Now, the World Bank's 2024 Year-in Review report highlights that more than half of the population in sub-Saharan Africa, including Nigeria, is facing multidimensional poverty. Now, this includes deprivation in three key areas: monetary poverty, education, and basic infrastructure services. The report uses the World Bank's multidimensional poverty measure, which defines poverty as living below $2.15 per person per day, lacking education or lacking access to essential services. It reveals that over 1/3 of people in countries supported by the International Development Association, that's IDA, and more than half of those in sub-Saharan Africa are affected by multidimensional poverty. According to Nigeria's 2022 Multidimensional Poverty Index, 63% of Nigerians, approximately 133 million people, live in multidimensional poverty. Of these, 65%, that's 86 million, are in the north, while 35%, that's 47 million, are in the south. The report also points out that more than half of Nigeria's population cook with dongs, wood, or charcoal instead of using clean energy, underscoring the severity of poverty in the country. Gentlemen, you heard it. 63% of Nigerians, that's approximately 133 million people, live in multidimensional poverty. Dr. K, there's a projection that if we don't act fast, by June 2025, 130 million Nigerians are going to face acute hunger.
Have we been acting?
Acute hunger.
Have we been acting?
I should be the one asking you. So tell Nigerians.
Have we been acting?
Tell our
so we
viewers.
should be expecting it. You see, I even like the factors being used there. Economic, education. Okay,
to be very specific now, multidimensional poverty is measured according to four indices. One of them is health,
education,
security, and standard of living. These are the four key indicators.
Yes. But in the analysis that you read out, they
infrastructure was
education, health, and infrastructure. Now, you see, let's first of all look at an overview of Africa. An overview. As regards leadership. Because all these things too are also based on leadership. Leadership in terms of intentional leadership. Look at most of the countries in Africa. Which of them are not under the control of one superpower or the other? Look at what China is doing.
Is that the cause of our poverty?
I'm coming. Actually, I want to give you an analysis now.
Okay.
Look at what China is doing in Zimbabwe, whereby they are even now controlling the police. Look at what is happening in Nigeria itself.
What is happening?
Whereby our resources are being carted away by foreigners. Because we have had a report whereby you see all these small aircrafts flying in and flying out of Nigeria. drive through. Sorry.
No,
Drive through Lagos Ibadan Express.
Dr.
Sorry,
K.
sir. Drive through Lagos Ibadan Express.
If you leave out what is carted away by foreigners, don't we have enough to rebuild Nigeria so that there will be no poor person, or the number of poor people in Nigeria will be reduced drastically? Let's take away. Let's discountenance what is taken away.
What are the things that are being taken away? What are the things that you want to use to develop Nigeria? When those things are being cut, okay, listen. Do you know how much of your oil? I said, wait now. Do you know how much of your oil that is being taken out every day?
Doctor,
do you know how much?
Let's just talk about the oil, the monies that we use here, the monies that we generate. Let's leave the ones that
which money do you generate?
Don't you generate money? Okay, let's talk about the ones that we have borrowed. How much of that have we used?
When you are borrowing,
not enough to develop.
When you are borrowing that money, what have you been using it to do?
I don't want.
Do you know how much of money that was borrowed on Suku?
An external locus of control. No. I want us to look inwards. Let us leave the foreigners.
Borrowing. Do you know how much of Sukuk you borrow? What did we use it for?
How much?
Go and look at the roads, Abuja Road.
Governors getting?
Those are issues now.
Exactly. So let's leave out what foreigners are taking away.
You have to put all those things together for us to be able to know why we are poor.
No. We are simply trying to scapegoat foreigners now. Let us locate our problems within.
Now, listen.
How much is our budget for 2024?
Look at our budget.
Our budget for 2024 is how much? 27 trillion.
Look at even the
look at that budget we use to develop Nigeria.
Look at that budget for 2024. Look at that budget for 2024. How much did we use for recurrent expenditure?
Okay.
And how much did we use for infrastructure development?
Is it China that did the budget
and how much?
Is it US that wrote the budget
how
for
much
us?
did we use? How much did we use to buy vehicles?
Is it foreigners
for legislators
that implemented the budget for
how
us?
much did you use?
Now you are coming
how
home.
much did you use?
Now you are coming home.
Because you see, it is multifaceted.
No, let's look
so
at
when
the
we
one
are
that
looking
is
at when we are looking at
okay.
Then even when you are looking at the one within, those people that are spending that money,
okay,
those people that are putting the money in their pocket, I will not blame them.
Who will you blame?
I will blame you and me.
Okay.
Because I always, it's my quote. There's a quote I've developed over for 5 years. Let me give you that quote.
I'm happy we are not blaming foreigners.
Yeah, let me give you that quote. A people that are refused to emancipate itself from the claws of the haste, Machiavellian, and wicked leaders will be perpetually emaciated. And that is what is happening to you and me. I was discussing today at the meeting I went to with some youth. I said, okay, oh boy, how much is in your pocket presently? He said, sir, not to lie, 3,000. I said, fine. I said, in your account, like how much are you having in your account? He said, like 400,000. I said, okay, fine. I said, as I am now, as a big brother to you that has come to talk to you guys, if I should just say, oh boy, take this 100,000. I said, what will you do first? Immediately, I'm giving you 100,000. What will you do first? He said, we do 5G there. We call his friends.
What's 5G?
That is, they will go and enjoy themselves. Okay. He said, we call his friends, this and that, because that money is the free money and they will enjoy them. I said, like, how much do you think you will use for that merriment? He said, at least he will spend 30,000 out of the 100,000. I said, what next will you do? He wanted to be, I said, leave tithe and church, leave it aside. How much? We started analyzing. At the end of that meeting, at Airport Hotel in Kenya, people like my Mondari Babarinsa, people like Julie, people like late this man, they were standing up to greet him. Me, I just sat down. I was watching him. He now saw me from where he was now asking. That late man said, why is this boy that is not greeting me? That is not greeting me. That man now came to me. I said, sir, brilliantly docile. That's where we put it.
Brief explanation, very brief, so that we can bring in our understanding.
The issue is this. We say, yes, we are very resilient. That is, we are very elastic. And people, we are still being, I will give you an example. 2 minutes.
Quick one.
2 minutes.
No, 2 minutes is much. Quick one.
In 2015, 2014 leading to 2015. PMS, the price of PMS was increased by how much? Just 10 naira. We're all on the streets. But I still cannot believe that till now, Nigerians, the civil society organizations, you and I have never resisted the over 600% increase in pump price.
You have made a point. Now let's bring in our diaspora audience. Flagship, let me come to you now. Flagship, does it look like, or it does appear, that sub-Saharan Africa harbors the poorest people on earth? Why is that so? And what do you think we can do to get out of that hole?
It's so because I heard the conversation between you and Mr. Kayode in the studio. Chukuma, you cannot take out the hands of the Westerners from what we're going through.
Okay.
The policies that we have on every one of these sectors that is used to class the multidimensional poverty that sub-Saharan Africa is going through are designed by people from the West. The IMF, they write it and give it to us, or at least they influence it and how it is written.
Flagship, do they force us? Do they shove it down our throat, or do we willingly accept those policies?
Because they will remove you from government.
It's part of the criteria that we have to accept in order to get the money we are asking for from them.
Exactly the point. You still have come back to the point. Why can't we develop with the money that we have? Why must we look up to them? Why must we borrow from World Bank? Why must we take money from IMF? Don't we have enough?
Again, they are telling you that you are not allowed to. I mean, take for example, Nigeria is the only nation in the entire OPEC world that exports its crude and brings out refined products and sells it to its citizens or its people.
So why should that be the problem of UK and Europe? Are they the ones asking us to do that?
Mr. Chukuma, it's not. We cannot object to it right now.
And so if we object,
they are the one that authenticates you.
They
authenticate on government. They authenticate on government. Unless they remove you.
That's what I'm saying. So from leadership down, it's controlled by them. 2023 is a good example. It wasn't that the Labour Party candidate was not good or will not be a good leader in Nigeria. It's just that he does not fit the criteria of someone who can be remote controlled.
Sure.
Someone they can tell to do what they want him to do if they don't have nothing on him. So they influence these policies. Education, economy, and all of that is written by them or influenced by them.
Flagship.
And before we can
Flagship.
come, we cannot...
Flagship. Sub-Saharan Africa wasn't the only part of the world that was colonized by Europe. Much of Asia was colonized by Europe. Much of Latin America was colonized by Europe. As far as Japan was colonized by Europe. Some parts of Asia were colonized by Europe. All these people have moved on. Why should we always blame colonialism for our problem?
You know why? Because the leaders that we have are friends of the West.
Exactly the point. So it has
those
nothing to do
countries
with
that have moved
foreigners,
on.
if you ask me. Go ahead,
I'm sorry. Well, I'm saying those nations that have moved on, like you rightly mentioned, moved on because their leaders were people indigenous to them with no Western influence. All of these leaders that we have in sub-Saharan Africa once lived and schooled in the US. They were handpicked by the US. I could give you a few that were handpicked, and when they got to Africa and decided not to do what the bidding of the West is, they took them out. Charles Taylor is one. There are many of them, and you and I know this, that until we have people who are devoid of any attachment or benefit from the West lead us, we will continue going in the same circle. These policies are not designed to make any of this aspect of our nationhood grow to benefit us. So until we start writing out, you ask me, how do we get out of it? Until we start writing our own policies and ensuring that these policies are designed in a way to benefit the Nigerian people first, and then the nation as it is, we will never get out of it.
Okay.
And it's not just writing the policies, and I'll end with this. It's not just writing the policies. Proper implementation of these policies, plus serious accountability following the implementation will get us out of where we are.
All right. Thanks very much, Flagship. Now, let me bring you in, Dr. Damages. Dr. Damages, with the present policies of this government, I can mention a few. Our president says he's a reformist. I can talk about tax reforms. I can talk about local government autonomy. I can talk about state
Subsidy
policy.
remover.
I can talk about subsidy remover.
Foreign
Does
exchange.
it look like Nigeria, that the number of multidimensionally poor people is going to reduce in the next 2-3 years? Quick one, sir.
No, it's not going to. It's going to be worse. But he's saying that if we can wait maybe 20 years, 10 years, 20 from now, when his son will become president, we will benefit from what he's doing.
Did he actually say that?
No, but that's the implication.
Okay, that's the damaging aspect of it.
That's the implication when you see him taking salute from paramilitary.
Oh,
okay, he's learning on the job.
ready.
All right.
Learning, yeah.
So let me just touch on what the flagship is saying. You know, what the Europeans or the Americans or the Chinese, whoever you want to blame for our problem, what they did to us, you can say there are many, but what we did to ourselves, more. So we have to zero in on what we are doing to ourselves more than what they did to us. There is no reason why Africa should not move away from this level of poverty. I thought about 100 years ago in 1924, 10 years after our amalgamation to form Nigeria. Do you think that the people in Nigeria were in the kind of poverty situation that they are now today? I don't think so. I think what probably happened is that we have stopped producing. Okay. You can't stop producing and expect wonders to happen when you now live in a world that is interconnected. Okay. We will stop producing for ourselves. Because my grandmother, if you say how much money was she spending when she was alive, you can look at it and say she's spending less than $2 a day. But she's getting her food from her farm. She's getting free accommodation because she lived in her own house. She didn't need electricity. So this is the calculation that they use, international organizations, to make this assessment. It's not really suitable very well for Africa to say that they don't have $2 a day. But the point is that she was taking care of herself. My parents were teachers. They were, apart from going to school to teach, they had a garden, we had a farm, we kept poultry, we had other things we were doing. Those are not things that are seen by people who are assessing my parents based on just what they get paid at the end of the month. So when you say this $2 a day or $2.15 a day, okay, it's not a real figure because, again, think about it. People will have been dead if they don't have that, if they are not living beyond that. They will have been dead. So that calculation I don't buy. But the point is that we don't produce. And as long as we don't produce, we are not going to compete in a world. We are not going to be able to say that our currency will have strength if we are not producing anything. You know? Okay. So
now, Dr. Damages, please, can we have your concluding thoughts? Quick one, because we are pressed for time.
Oh, all right. So in essence, what I think we have to channel our thoughts into is that the people who we have there, who are leading us today, and not really, from what we see, they don't really care about us the way we expect people who are leading people to care about them. It shows in everything they do. So what do we do? That's the question we should ask ourselves at this point. What do we do beyond just complain that they don't care? Because they manifest that every day. All right. So that's what we have to focus our attention to. What do we do individually as a group to save ourselves?
Exactly what do we do? Now, KJ, let me bring you in. KJ, if you look back 100 years, looks like Sub-Saharan Africa and Nigerians were richer than they are today. What do we do to get out of this hole now?
Simply, as the Igbos will say, you check where the rent everything and you invest back. So let's go back to what was working for us before and use that to, to now build a future that will be worthy for our children and our community. We can't continue to play this nonsense game. We can't continue to go to Chatham House to give lectures or to give promises that will keep when we become president over Nigeria.
Okay, KJ, will you be kind enough to tell us what worked for us before? And we can wrap it up with your concluding thoughts.
Thank you. What used to work for us before was that we were all doing our farming. The East had the oil plantation. The North had their granite pyramids. The West had their cocoa farm. And all that can totally be reactivated again. We don't have to depend on the free money coming from oil. We can develop those mineral resources that are already not touched. We can engage millions of our people, just like the damages have said, into what we used to do before. Teachers had farms. Teachers had time to teach, and we are giving quality education, because that is the quality education that brought us to where we are today. We can go back there and be able to activate those things again. In the East, you had farm settlements where people owned large farms, and they go there and they live there. They have quality lives, okay? In the North, you had the same thing. Look, Niger, Plateau, Benue, all these places and Kogi State can be turned to a farming hub, a farming industry. We can create a competition for farmers. Each state, every year, at the end of every year, we meet at the national level, each state presenting what they have been able to achieve in that year. That will activate, and then more money put in those farming this thing, not just speaking by speaking side. And I will say this: it's time for us, if we really want to be giant of Africa, to look inward and elect leaders who are concerned about the population of Nigeria and not about their friends and their cronies. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so very much, KJ. Now, show to you, 63% of sub-Saharan Africans multidimensionally poor. How much do you think Europe contributed to this impoverishment of Africa?
Oh, God.
That's even if you agree that Europe is part of the problem that we have.
Oh, yes, definitely. They've contributed a lot, and they're still contributing a lot to the poverty that you see in Africa. I don't think it's 63%, because you're telling me that means 63 out of every 100 persons you meet in Nigeria, as an example, is poor or multidimensionally poor. I think it's way more than that. I mean, you live in Lagos.
That's quite scary.
But yes, but I have family in Nigeria, and I visit Nigeria myself, and I see things with my own eyes. Out of every 63 people I meet, at least in my circle, out of every 100 people I meet, more than 63 are very poor.
Inclusive of me.
Friends who we went to school together who never used to call us for money, that you could call and just have a good old chingwag and just gist and talk about life, are now calling and asking for money.
Yeah.
You would see that they're hesitant. They don't want to tell you straight away, but they would find a way to now tell you, please, I wouldn't do this, but I need this. These are people who are doing, fairly okay until BC, until this change nonsense came in 2015. I mean, think about what the West have done and are still doing. There's a video, I'll say this quickly. There's a video shared by David Hudain. He shared it yesterday morning around 9 o'clock or 9:30, where a former French intelligence officer, his name is Vincent Crozet, was saying that the French ambassadors and soldiers are no longer in Niger Republic. Now they're in a position where they can destabilize that country in a more secretive way. He said it on TV. It's there. So you can see their hands. So they're upset that they've lost something. So they would rather, if I can't have it, nobody can have it. They would rather destabilize that region. So we cannot, underestimate or underemphasize. We cannot overemphasize what the West are doing. Of course, there's enough blame to go around. Our own people, our leaders are not doing anything to help. I mean, think about it. The life expectancy in Nigeria today is 53 years. In Syria, where the war is almost 14 years and counting, the life expectancy is 72 years. And this is one index that you mentioned. So if a country that is war-torn can expect for their citizens to live for 72 years, how is a Nigerian citizen expected to live for 53 years? Illiteracy level in Nigeria is 31. 31% illiteracy level. And look at the average is 23. So what exactly are we doing right?
Okay,
I know people say Nigeria is a poor country. I would round off on this.
Yes,
Nigeria,
which are concluding thoughts.
Yes, my concluding thought. So Nigeria is a poor country, as we've been told by many people. Let's even agree that Nigeria is a poor country. Are we getting value for the money we're spending? In Africa, 2023 budget in Africa, in sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria were the highest spenders on security. Our budget was $3.2 billion on security. The following year, it was $4 billion. So are we, I know it's small, but are we getting value for what we're spending? Look at education, look at agriculture. We're spending 2% on agriculture on this new budget. Even with that 2%, would the Nigerians get the true value for the money we're spending? We need to hold the feet of our politicians to fire. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Sho. Now, Dr. K, quick one. Wrap up your concluding thoughts. 30 seconds if you can.
Yeah, it's all about being a responsible set of people by holding our leaders responsible and then ensuring that we get ourselves emancipated from their claws. However, I don't want to catch Dr. Damages unaware, but he caught me by asking me, what do we do? And that what are we going to do has already emerged from my quote. Okay. And I think thereafter, I will discuss with him what we are going to do, which already we have started.
Pipeline. All right, very much. Thanks very much, gentlemen. This will be the wrap. Pretty much the place to anchor the show. I've been speaking with Dr. Dayo Kayode, who is a political analyst and aviation expert here in the studio. Dr. K, thanks for coming. I also had Dr. Damages, a satirist, writer, journalist, and an adjunct professor at the School of Visual Arts in New York, who joined us. We also had Flagship. Flagship is a clinical research operations lead and business entrepreneur. He's based in Atlanta. He was part of this show. We also had KJ. KJ is in media production and a training expert and joined from Maryland in the United States of America. We also had Sho. Sho is an IT expert with interest in international politics and development and joined us from United Kingdom. Gentlemen, thanks very much for your very profound and wonderful insights on this show. Oh, well, by the time this show returns next week, Saturday, it will be 2025. So let me take this opportunity to say Happy New Year to you, gentlemen, and our numerous viewers worldwide. I've been your host, Chukwuma Okoro, and I'll say enjoy the rest of the year and welcome to 2025. Bye for now.